Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. We're so glad you could attend. Come inside, come inside. There behind the glass stands a real blade of grass. Be careful as you pass. Move along, move along. Come inside, the show's about to start. Guaranteed to blow your head apart. Rest assured, you'll get your money's worth. Greatest show it happened around. You gotta see the show. It's a dynamo. You gotta see the show. It's rock and roll. Oh, right before your eyes, people laughter from the skies, and he laughs until he cries, and he dies, and he dies. Come inside, the show's about to start. Guaranteed to blow your head apart. You gotta see the show. It's a dynamo. You gotta see the show. It's rock and roll.
All right. Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, or good night. This is PowerGirl, and you are here today with me at the Keeper of the Flame podcast. And I am so excited to bring with you a special guest that I have that I have actually been looking for a very long time. I'm very excited to introduce you to a gentleman that, like I said, I've been looking for a very long time. I've been trying to find somebody that is well versed in natural law, and I found somebody who has a really, really good presentation on a very, very, very big subject and a very, very important subject for our time. And so I'm really excited to introduce you to him today on our Independence Day extravaganza, where we are exploring the idea of gaining our own independence, our actual independence, And a second time around, this is a second revolution where we are genuinely concerned about the direction that our government is going in at the moment. And we are understanding how deeply malignant and criminal they've become. And because of this reason, we are considering divorcing ourselves from the corrupt corporation of the United States of America. And Jake Jackson is just the guy to tell us how to do that. So I'm going to bring Jake in from the green room, and you can meet him yourself. All right, everyone. This is Jake Jackson. Say hello.
How you doing, Christina?
Yes, good to see you, Jake. We've been working on this for a while. I'm glad you finally took the time, or that we finally got to sit down and record, because you've taken a lot more time out of it than just this. I just want to give you props for that and say thank you for all the time that you've spent with us previous to this, getting to know us, explaining things. I've watched a lot of your videos, and I'm very excited about your presentation.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's been a long 15 years to get to this point, but you know, uh, like I've said before, when I stumbled across Aaron Russo's America, Freedom, and Fascism one late April night in 2007, and I saw where the country was headed and what he warned about 15 years ago, and I see it now completely coming to fruition.
Mm.
That's why I've spent 15 years doing what I'm doing, because I knew we were going to hit this point where we had to break free of this system or we would forever be enslaved. That's where we're at right now. We're at a point in human history, in American history, which is so much worse than what our founding fathers broke free from 246 years ago, that we have to do something, or it's lights out for America and it's lights out for our future. So, that's kind of what the Freedom Project 2020 is all about. That's what I just kind of put together 2 years ago in June of 2020 as a way to share all the information that I had acquired and had been putting into a book that I never published for 13 years, and it's all out there for the world to see. And for the last year and a half, I've been focusing on the actual solution, which we're going to talk about today, which is the actual solution. Okay.
Yes.
And what I see a lot in social media is, oh, everybody has their own solution. Everybody, they're on their own path, and, they're at different levels of awakening and you can't force it. No, there is only one solution. It's the exact same solution that our founding fathers gave us 246 years ago. It's the exact same solution. There is only one solution, and that is we, the people, need to unite and declare our independence from this entity that has,
Run amok.
surreptitiously hijacked our sovereignty, our independence from us. We've been put in this reservation through constructive fraud via adhesion contracts since the day we're born, and our parents signed us on to a birth certificate. All right, that's how long the fraud has been going on, and the system that we're all living under and supposedly contracted to is operating in complete violation of natural law. Mm-hmm. And once people understand natural law and they can take a different look at what our government is and what they've done to us, and look at it from a different perspective, of a natural law perspective, they too will come to the same conclusions that I have, that there's no way that this government, this structure can ever be fixed. It's irreparable, and we must create something new. It's as simple as that. Absolutely. And there's a lot of people out there that are trying to fix government, and I keep telling them, you can't fix it. The John Birch Society has been trying to fix it for 75 years or however long it's been. Putting people, Libertarian Party, whatever. It's an entity that has been completely hijacked by the banks and the corporations, and we'll get into this later on. Christina's going to bring up a graphic, but it's an entity that's been completely hijacked, and most people still have this, false belief that they're working on our behalf, and they're not at all. They're working against us, and we're merely, I don't know how you want to put it, resources, human resources that they extract energy from.
Exactly. I was going to say we could put it the way they put it, and we can say we're useless feeders as far as they're concerned.
Right.
And if we're not productive and producing for them, then we're even more useless than that. So
exactly. And once people can wrap their head around that all right, so government is corrupt, it's irreparable. So what is the solution? What can we do to replace it? And again, that's what I've done in my work. I have spent more than a decade. I started writing the book in 2010, so 12 years ago. It started off as a book basically exposing the problems. And what I realized as I was writing it, this is kind of interesting because I started writing it. I worked on it for about a year, and that's when I came across natural law. And I'd already learned the trivium and the quadrivium and critical thinking, but once you apply natural law to that set of skills, everything just became so clear in my mind that the trivium, critical thinking, and natural law is the key to freeing humanity. And that was the subtitle of my book. My book was called The Great Awakening, and I broke it up into 3 separate volumes. The first one was the mind, second one was the body, and third one was the soul. But the first book about the mind, the subtitle was The Great Awakening, Book 1, The Mind, Understanding the Vital Keys to Freeing Humanity from debt slavery, illegitimate authority, and universal deceit. And that's it. That's how we're controlled. We're controlled through debt, we're controlled through illegitimate authority, and we're controlled through an incredible amount of deceit. And what I did was I took natural law and critical thinking, and I looked at the roots of all those problems. I applied natural law, and I came with a structure that would remedy all of that. And that's what I've done with my work. And it's all laid out in all my video series. And all people have to do is go and watch it. And we have to start to change our perspective of what we view as government in this world and how corrupt it is, how, it cannot be fixed because it's the entire structure. Everything has been hijacked. And we need to put in place a firewall that will protect we the people once again. And that's all right. And that's why we're talking about on Independence Day in the United States. We're not independent anymore. We are completely dependent on a system. And I mean, you can see now the supply chains are breaking down. Well, that was all done by design. Inflation is through the roof. Our money has been debauched. Everything that we count on and rely on just to live our everyday lives is being destroyed by design. And we need to declare and break free and declare our independence from the system and create something completely new that aligns with natural law. That's the only way we're going to get out of this mess. It's the only way. And people keep fight me and debate me on, there's tons of ways. No, there's only one way. Natural law. Go ahead.
This is the biggest reason, Jake, why I went through the trouble that I went through to find somebody who had an explanation of natural law. Before I knew who Jake Jackson was, I knew that natural law was the answer. It's such a simple solution. It's actually going back to what mankind was originally meant to do all along. So, but the problem is that just like with any other form of law, it seems to me like those who are delivering the natural law message are not, they're leaving a lot to be desired. And what I mean by that is it seems to me that there's a lot of information and there isn't enough of a basic roadmap. What I liked about your media was not only was it well put together, and not only could I tell, because I do video editing, not only could I tell you had spent hours and hours, countless hours on the work, but it was very well put together, it's very polished, and it's very simple. And if you just play the videos, it explains itself perfectly. So, what, Jake, would you say is probably the primary way that our existing system has let us down as citizens? What's the first thing that you think of when you think of maybe the top three? We'll say, what's the top three ways our existing system has let us down?
Well, first of all, you just used the word that I abolish in a natural law republic, and that's citizen. Because
There it is.
citizens are subservient to a higher power. And we're not. We're sovereign. And our only higher power is God. It's our creator. And that's it. There is no middleman. Okay? And the only middleman in a natural law republic is what I'm calling a public service administration. And that's just there to truly protect our rights, to operate, the public services that we all need that don't make sense in a free market situation, and operate a court system where people can settle disputes. That's it. That's all. And I abolished the word government because govern means to control, and we don't need to be controlled. We need to be free. We need to be sovereign, and so we have been let down as human beings, as sovereigns, by being put into this net, captured as citizens. And they did that with the 13th and 14th Amendments of the Constitution. It didn't emancipate the slaves. It actually made what I call a debt slave, which is a citizen. You are now part of this. And, here's a great example.
Can you break that down a little bit? Can you just unpack it a little bit?
The Emancipation Proclamation basically freed the slaves, and no one's allowed to be kept as a slave anymore. You're now free citizens. But then what they did with the 13th and 14th Amendments was they created a new form of person, which is called the citizen of the United States of America, corporation. And that's where we were all captured. So in freeing the slaves, they actually captured us all at once. And it was a trick by the banksters, obviously. But again, it's my belief that we're all sovereign, and we are all our own kings. We are all our own rulers, and we are only subservient to the creator and natural law. So let's get into natural. Oh, what was your that's where they let us down, is they captured us.
Go
ahead.
So actually, while you were talking, I was pulling up the definition of citizen on the internet, and it says right here, a person owing loyalty to and entitled by birth or naturalization to the protection of a state or nation. So you're owing your loyalty, that's where they get. And then you said government, and it does say about, I looked that up as well, and it says, I find when we look up definitions, it makes things really, really clear. The active process of governing, especially the control, that's a key word, control and administration of public policy. So control, that's the biggest reason. I mean, you're talking to, I've been a dyed-in-the-wool liberal most of my life until recently. I #walked away a while ago, but I always considered myself a liberal, and because I was a live and let live kind of person. And what is happening right now is nothing close to what it used to be. And that's just in the few.
You're a classical liberal. You're not a modern liberal. You're a classical liberal.
Exactly.
There's a big difference. So, I'll be doing a video that covers that and how that word was inverted as well. But go ahead.
And that's one of the things we've talked about, you and I offline a lot about making you a friend of the show, because there's a lot of things that we could really unpack for folks. Unfortunately, we've been, I hate to say it, we've been dumbed down, and our education system has really, really let us down. And you actually talk about those three systems that we really need to address, right? You talk about education, what was it, government and media? Is those the three that you used?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we're definitely working on the media side at Power Girl Productions, little by little, baby step by baby step. But and then this natural law republic that you're talking about is what we're trying to address with government. But our education system has really, really let us down. I mean, I'm very blessed to have had a Christian school education for most of my primary years. I'm very glad I went into the trades and didn't go to a university now. Thank you very much for that. I and am very concerned about where education is going, because you can see a lot of the stuff that you're talking about, even though it is actually very simple, can be a little bit mystifying for people that are not understanding simple terms. Like one of the things I heard you say, critical thinking. That's something that is a kind of an obscure concept these days. Can you kind of break that one down a little bit?
Well, actually, let's unpack what you just talked about with
Okay,
education,
let's do that.
because that's one of the first things after my initial awakening. Because whenever everybody takes different paths once they awaken. Okay, there's something
Right.
in their life that triggers them to say, "Oh my God, everything about this world is wrong. Everything I believed in is wrong." So when I first woke up, it was the financial system, because that's what American Freedom to Fashion was all about. It's about the IRS and the Federal Reserve. And I had a background in finance. I studied finance in college. So when I saw that, and I had always questioned many things about the financial world and markets and everything, it just didn't seem legit to me. It seemed
Right.
like they were making money out of nothing. I didn't know how they were doing it, but it seemed like they were making money out of nothing. And then when I saw the Federal Reserve, and I really delved into the financial aspect of that initially in my awakening. I watched Bill Still's 3 Hour Money Masters, and I mean Fiat Empire, and all these different documentaries that had been done about the Federal Reserve. And I'm like, holy shit, our country was hijacked in 1913, and it hasn't been the same ever since. So, but one of my next steps in my awakening was the work of Charlotte Iserbyt and John Taylor Gatto, which was about our education system. So very early on, I was already focused on the monetary system and the education system, because I first learned about Gatto in either early, or I think right around early 2008. And then soon after that was Charlotte Taylor Iserbyt. And they had the two, most important books about the American education system. The Deliberate Dumbing Down of America was Iserbyt's book, and Gatto's was An Underground History of American Education. And they both show how our education system was hijacked starting in the mid 19th century, right around 1850, when they brought the Prussian model over to America to turn us into good worker bees.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of free thinking, rugged individuals who want to, control our own lives. And so, yeah, the education system was the first thing that was hijacked in this country, and then it was the government in 1913 with the hijacking of our monetary system, and soon after that, the healthcare system, and then within that same decade, they had hijacked the media. And so there you go. That it was the first 20 years of the last century that they completely took over our government. And we've been, as human beings, have just been laying bare to whatever they want to do to us ever since that.
Mm-hmm.
And we live in this illusion of freedom where people think they're free because, they can go and do whatever they want, whatever. But those days are coming to an end. And that was their plan all along, was to slowly put us in the pot like a frog, boil us to death, and chip away at our freedom little by little by little, until one day we're going to wake up once they completely institute the CBDC, which is central bank digital currency, we're going to wake up and we're not going to have any free will at all. We're not going to be able to do anything of our own free will, because everything we want to do will be tied to a social credit score and a central bank digital currency. And if you don't do exactly what you're expected to do, they will turn you off or they will take your money away. And if you try to barter or trade or exchange, that will be against the law, and they'll throw you in a cage. That's where we're heading. And this all started a long, long time ago. And we're literally at the doorstep right now. It's knocking on our door, tyranny. And if we don't declare our independence from it en masse, and none of what I'm saying today will work unless we have, I'm saying 10% of the population as a conservative estimate. We could maybe do it with 7%, but I don't think the 3.5% is going to cut it in today's world. I think if we do 10%, to do what I'm suggesting, what I'm proposing, we can start the dominoes falling worldwide that will finally free humanity from this tyranny we've been living under our entire lives.
And I think what I hear you proposing, Jake, is actually as simple. It's actually what I had to do twice, both in my personal life and in my professional life, because I was dealing with psychotic narcissists who wanted to paint a picture that wasn't true about my own reality. And
Right.
and that's what we're experiencing right now with government. So what you're talking about, and this is what I used to equate it with, is we're actually divorcing ourselves from an abusive domestic violence situation, which means it has to happen as soon as possible. The
Right.
first thing is awareness, understanding that we are in an abusive relationship. And I think right now everybody's in this state of cognitive dissonance, which is a normal reaction to finding out that your whole life is a complete lie. And here at PowerGirl Productions, we're actually working really hard to help those people who are struggling with that. What you said, that whole earth-shattering moment where you realize that everything you thought was true is not true, and the opposite is actually true. And I would actually challenge you, Jake, here in California. I mean, in Texas, you're still living in a free state, so it might seem like it's knocking at the door. But here in California, we're full tilt bozo. We're gonzo. We've been gonzo, and we got a little bit of a lull here in Humboldt County because they have eased up around election day. But my story is proof positive that we have lost all human rights, and that there is no such thing as due process anymore, and that we are really in a bad state in California. And I always remind people that this is the shore that is shared with the fire triangle, and all of the people over there that are trying to impose their will on the United States. And if you don't think that that's happening, all you have to do is find all the land that's being bought up, and again, the farmland that's being bought up, and like you said, all the destruction of food processing centers. There's all kinds of things that are happening against us right now, and there's a lot of people that don't even know that any of this is happening. So that's the biggest and most alarming thing. What we're trying to create, Jake and I, is a critical mass. We're trying to draw a crowd. We're trying to encourage people. This, we're not asking anybody to join a cult. This isn't any kind of extremist thinking. This is simple, based on natural law, and not foreign. It's actually what our whole system is based on, but it was hijacked back and in various ways. But Jake speaks to the financial, which is really truly the most obvious, right? They say follow the money. So if you ever doubt that, if we're sounding like conspiracy theorists here, all you have to do is look back. I mean, it's all documented. They're not hiding any of it. So, and actually, since COVID, I would challenge anyone that is still walking around with a mask on. You're telling your masters that you are in full compliance, and that regardless of how ridiculous the circumstances, you will obey without question. So that's where we're at in California. People are still masking. They're still going to the grocery store, and again, people don't understand why I get so triggered by the masks. But to me, like Justin says, when I saw those people and the masks, I was like, oh my gosh, this is it, man. It's over. It's over. I knew what was coming. I was wide awake when COVID hit. And I was, when I saw those masks on people's face, it might as well have been a neon sign over their head that said compliance, compliance. I mean, I come from the world of compliance. I was a federally regulated employee, and everything we did was watched. Every I needed to be dotted, every T needed to be crossed, unless, of course, you're talking about a high-end CEO in a suit. Then, of course, we could cover up any crimes that they commit. It's just the guys in the field, the blue jeans in the field, that we're going to scrutinize every little thing they do. And if they ever slip up, we're going to destroy them. And especially if they're talking about truth and demanding that we align with our own standards, we're definitely going to cancel them, because we can't have that in the new world order. And they've been talking to us about the new normal, Jake, in California. As a California first responder, I can tell you, since the fires, that's when it started for us. We've been hearing about the new normal. Just get used to it. California's just going to burn every summer, okay, guys? So that's what we're dealing with. And that's one of the biggest reasons why a year ago, when the natural law concept came to me, and because I'm desperate for solutions. I'm a solution oriented person. I'm an emergency responder, so my job is to end the emergency and make safe. And so that's what I'm trying to do. And to me, this natural law solution is really the most simple. It's the most elegant, and it's done on an individual basis. So nobody could really accuse us of being a cult. We're just divorcing ourselves from this corporation. A lot of people don't even realize we're not a republic. We're actually a corporation. Can you kind of break that down a little bit, since you have your financial background? I know it stems from that, right?
Yeah, I mean that would take a whole nother show to really
It
get
is.
into.
That's a lot to break down.
I mean,
We can do that. I'm going to write that down. We're going to bring you back for that.
what a republic is, and I actually went to the 1215.org website the other day, and they gave a great definition of a republic versus a democracy. What they've done is they've turned us into a democracy, and I don't know if I mean, people, if you're paying any attention to the media at all, we have been bombarded over the past, I mean, even since Trump was elected in 2016, this idea of our democracy is under attack. We must save our democracy. Democracy, democracy, democracy. And democracy is, as Lenin put it, indispensable to socialism. It's a path to socialism. It's a path to communism, because it ingrains in people that 51% of the people can control the other 49%. And that's why we have the left and right divide in this country. So what democracy, what I spell as DUMBOCRACY, democracy, that's a system that has to be abolished. And we need to restore a system that is based on a republic. And again, I don't have the definition or the etymology of that word off the top of my head, but it's based in law. And what I'm basing the republic, and that's why I called it a natural law republic, because the law that is based in this new republic is natural law and only natural law. But going back to what you said earlier, it's the perfect allegory. We are in an abusive relationship with our government. All they do is continue to abuse us. And like you said earlier, you don't really see much of a let up in California, but in most of the world, they've let up on the whole CV BS.
Not here, man.
Because they're like a boa constrictor, they'll squeeze as much out of you as they can until you fight back, and then they'll let up. Like, oh, they're fighting back, so we're gonna let up a little bit, and then they're gonna come back and squeeze harder, and that's all they do. So they're like a boa constrictor. And yes, it is an abusive relationship, and I feel the same way about the masks. I mean, from day one, what a mask does is it removes your humanity. all you have are these eyes peering out from behind this shield that is completely based in irrational fear. And that's all I see. I see zombies who don't have a mind, who don't have a mind of their own. And the whole thing, the Freedom Project 2020, and all of my work, and one of the most important pages on my website is the page on critical thinking, because
Right.
this is the curriculum that I actually took to learn. I didn't know anything that I know right now before I was 40 years old. I had my suspicions. I had,
Right.
oh, it just doesn't seem right, but I didn't start learning until 2 weeks after my 40th birthday, when I woke up, and everything that I've acquired in the last 15 years has been so because of my own personal effort. Nobody taught
Agreed.
me. I went out and sought this information, as it says in Matthew 7:7. Seek and ye shall find, ask and it shall be given, or knock and it shall be opened. That's the path. We all have
Yes.
to take it. My
Yes.
people perish for lack of knowledge. You have to
Yes.
seek the knowledge to be free. And when you know the truth shall make you free. Right? It's all right
Yes.
there in scripture. And it's actually in chronological order too, in the exact same way. So, people need to seek. And the Freedom Project is about empowering the individual. Like you said earlier, it's not a cult at all. It's about empowering every single individual in this country to realize that you are sovereign. You have the power. Nobody has control over you, and as long as you don't mess with anybody else, you're free to do whatever you want. There's only 4 moral maxims by which we all need to live under natural law, and this world would heal. Its government and all these predatory corporations that have created all of the problems in the world,
Yes.
going back time immemorial, right? And what Catherine Austin Fitts refers to going back 500 years as the central banking warfare model. All of the misery in the world has been created by ultimately the central banks, the issuers of debt currency, which they create out of nothing and loan to nations and put them in debt. And now we have to work, and they extract their energy to enrich themselves. That's the system we live in. It's a complete violation of natural law from the word go. So let's get into natural law, because that's the solution, and let's show people how simple it actually is, right?
Yes.
So we'll start with just the simple definition of natural law. And this is the way that I learned it from Mark Passio in his 9-hour presentation from 2011. This is his definition of natural law. And I'm going to say it slow so that I can really emphasize the important parts of it. Natural law can be defined as universal, meaning it doesn't have any boundaries. Non-man-made. These are laws from our Creator. They're not made by man. Binding, meaning inescapable. You're gonna pay the consequences if you violate them, whether you like it or not, eventually. Some are more immediate than others. Some take time. But if you violate natural law, you'll pay the consequence. And immutable conditions mean they can't be changed. You can't imagine or have an opinion that it doesn't exist and think you're exempt from it. They're immutable. That govern the consequences of behavior. And that's it. So I'll read that again in full. Natural law can be defined as universal, non-man-made, binding, and immutable conditions that govern the consequences of behavior. It is a body of universal spiritual laws which act as the governing dynamics of consciousness. Consciousness, our mind, our beliefs, and is also known as karmic law. So that's natural law. It's that simple. That's all we need to understand. That these are the laws that were created by the same entity that created all of us. And they're very simple. They're universal, non-man-made, binding, and immutable conditions that govern the consequences of our behavior. So the closer you align with natural law, the better your life gets. The more you stray from natural law, the more problems you invite into your life and the more problems you're going to have. And you can point your finger at other people and cast blame wherever you want. But ultimately, it's your decisions that are going to either align with natural law or not align with natural law. The only instance where that doesn't, I guess that doesn't, where fault can be cast on someone else is when people are violating natural law on your behalf. And that's government. Government does it every single day of your life.
With your money.
Corporations. So the only way to escape that is to learn how the system works and to escape from it. Now, people can escape from it on an individual basis, but that doesn't take their power away, and people are still suffering around the world. What my solution does is it unites everybody to walk away en masse so that everybody is free, and the abusive predator class can no longer harm anybody anywhere in the world. And I'm not doing this for myself. I'm doing this for everybody. So
no, it's
that's that. Yeah, wait, let me finish up on natural law here. So that's the definition. So if you look at the natural law, the what I've created, which is the Constitution for a Natural Law Republic, Article 1 basically states the 4 simple moral maxims by which we all must abide. And they're easy. Anybody can learn them in a couple of minutes. And then once you have the definition and you have these 4 simple moral maxims, you understand what we're doing by creating a natural law republic, because everything aligns with that one definition, these 4 moral maxims. The 4 moral maxims are, number 1, the golden rule. Treat everybody as you want to be treated yourself. Very simple. Number 2, don't steal. Every violation of natural law is one form of theft or another. You're either stealing from yourself in the present or the future, or you're stealing from someone else. It's all a violation of natural law. Number 3 is honor your contracts and word. Meaning, do all you've promised to do to the best of your ability. Simple. And number 4 is always respect the balance of nature, because we're all connected. As human beings, animals, nature, everything. We're in one connected ecosystem, and if you do any damage to nature, you're ultimately harming something else. You're essentially stealing from another part of nature. So those basic 4 moral maxims form what I'm proposing as the replacement to the current government structure. And if we implement this as a unified force of millions of people committed to creating this new system, it will not supplant but replace the current government. And once we get enough people to do it, the old system just dissolves. And it's really that simple. But we have to wrap our minds around the fact that A, we're enslaved, B, we don't want to be enslaved, and C, there is an actual path and a roadmap out of this mess now. And if we focus on that, we'll get there. And the more we focus on it, the quicker we'll get there. And we can go back to living our lives and actually create something that we can pass on to our children that we'll be proud to pass on. And we can say that we lived a good life because we actually created something that freed humanity, essentially. So that's it. I mean, that's it in a nutshell. That is the solution. And again, it's simple. You don't have to go through law dictionaries and learn all these definitions and learn paper up and, all this stuff that all these legal groups are doing out there. They're essentially trying to work within the system, but allowing the system to stay in place. I'm saying no. As long as the system's in place, some people are going to get hurt. And if one person is oppressed, then we're all oppressed. That's my vision. That's how I look at it. But I'm an empath, so a lot of people don't look at it that way and are only worried about themselves. No, I'm worried about everybody, because if we're all free, then we're all free. If some people are enslaved somewhere, then that creep can come around and get you sooner or later. So
Right.
what I've done with my work and the Natural and the Freedom Project 2020, the Natural Law Republic, and the video series that I've created is to give people that clear pathway that will free their mind from the old chains and give you not only the destination, but the structure of what it would look like when we got there and the roadmap to get there. Those are the three parts, essential parts of achieving any goal. They're all out there. So to get there, what I've done is, so this is the order. If you're interested in actually creating a better world, the 3 series are actually, there's 4 of them now. The first one I started was called Manifesting a New Reality. It's a 12-part series. There's 10 parts currently finished, and that's the vision. That's the first 3 parts are essentially an indictment of the current system and why we need to break free. The rest of it is what life would look like in this new reality. Then I started doing a series called The Path to Freedom, and that's essentially the roadmap of how we get there. And then I created a series called Creating a Natural Law Republic, which is essentially the architecture and structure of what this new system that to replace government would look like. And then recently I just did one called Emancipation Proclamation 2.0, 22, Building the Breakaway Civilization, which is a 4-part series, and it's essentially an overview of all of my work, that you can listen to in 4 parts. Again, all of my blogs I do in audio as well, so that you can listen if you don't want to read. I'm trying to make this as simple as possible for everybody, so that the videos and everything that I write and do is all audio. So you can actually listen to my words and get through everything without ever having to read a single word.
Yes, that would appeal to me. Yes. That would appeal to me when I'm working. Yes.
But that's how important this work is, because it truly is. Once you understand natural law, once you understand that it is all that matters, and that man's law, any of man's laws that violates natural law are null and void.
Mm-hmm.
They are created to control or oppress or steal, or any of all of man's laws violate one of the 4 moral maxims. So there you go. Why would we want to keep any of it in place? Once you understand natural law, and once you understand the power of aligning with natural law, why would you want to go back to any? We don't need these 7 million laws or however many there are in the books. We don't need the U.S. We don't need any of it.
Nope.
If the entire world just learned natural law, which again is based in love, essentially, there is no fear in natural law. Fear is created by man's law, by government, by oppression, by coercion. They use fear to coerce you. They use fear to oppress you. Everything in natural law is based in love. Why wouldn't we want to go to that type of system and leave this one to just rot on the vine and die? Just put it on the scrap heap of history. That's where it belongs.
It's so great that we have to cling to it? Is it so great? I think what I really believe, Jake, in my heart of hearts, is that we have finally reached a tipping point where people are finally seeing the things that people like you and I have been seeing for years. And it's up to people like you and I to lead the way. And what I'm so excited about your work, as you touched on it, is it's so comprehensive. It's so well put together. It's entertaining to watch. I really do love the fact that you do. When I was working, that's where I got a lot of my information. I would just put it in my ear, like I used to listen to NPR, and like talk radio. And that's how I got all this nourishment and all this information, and how I know all these things. And you make it really, really easy and really accessible. And what we're trying to do here right now today with the Independence event and everything that we're doing, trying to draw awareness, draw the eye away from the distractions that they are trying to keep you wrapped up in, all of the red, blue, left, right, black, white, male, female, all of this,
And not
fighting. they want you fighting because they know you are weak, divided. I mean, we've got, mother and daughter fighting. We have brother and sister fighting. We have brother and brother. I mean, this is ridiculous. We're better than this. And I think at deep, deep in the core of who we are, we want to stop fighting. We're exhausted. We must be exhausted by now. And what I love about your idea, Jake, is it's so simple, and you lay it all out just like you said with the, if anyone goes to your channel, we're going to make sure that we link your channel into this video. We're going to make sure that we continue to have you here on the show so that we can keep bringing up these specific concepts. Jake, you talk about, the reason why I keep bringing up critical thinking is because, like you said, until I was in my 40s, I didn't even realize that it was a thing. And then it wasn't. This is my California education, even with the Christian school. I didn't know the critical thinking was a thing until COVID, and people started talking about that. Even though I've always thought critically, naturally, but I didn't know it was a thing. And then
Right.
when I started to go into it, I realized it actually is that you need to be trained in this. This is a skill. Critical thinking isn't something, I mean, I come from a technical background, so I identified right away. This is something that people need to actually learn how to do, because there are skills to it. There's a language to it, all of that, So I definitely want to explore those topics with you on a deeper level. I want to bring Justin into the mix because he's also a great voice in all this. So we're just going to keep bringing it up. I think that what we need, we just wanted to introduce you today, to whomever happens to be watching, and we want to start building, like he said, our number one focus right here, especially here at PowerGirl Productions. And I know Jake is working very hard on this as well. I know that Justin and his Humboldt Truth Teller channel, he also works on this. We are just trying to build awareness. We're trying to first wake people up. It's time. It's time to get up. And now that we have a solution, this is what holds people back. They don't, it's so, how can you even accept that your whole world is a lie? Because where do you go from there? What's the next step? I know when it happened to me in my personal life, when I had to look at the person that I was spending my life with and realize that he wasn't at all who he pretended to be, and how I was actually in an abusive relationship. You don't really always know, especially if you've been raised in abuse your whole life and you don't recognize the signs right away. So this is where we're at as a people right now. As a nation, we are at a place where we have to recognize first that we're in an abusive relationship. This is not how you should be treated. And I would suggest that on the four moral maxims, that any contract that is engaged with abuse, if there's abuse involved in a contract, that makes that contract null and void. And if that person can prove that they are being abused, then they should not be held to that contract, because that's what happened to me. I was under contract, but I was being abused.
Right.
And it broke me. You can't do that to people. You can't abuse, you just can't do that. So that's where natural law comes in. And yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're just going to parse it out piece by piece, just like we do. We talk a lot about eating the elephant. This is a pretty big elephant. It is simple, but it's not easy, right? We have to get all these people on board. So we're just going to keep talking about the concepts and bringing these things up. And I'm really excited about it because you really, Jake, I put you through a little bit, and I've tested your patience and I've tested your steel, whether you realize it or not. We do that in my industry, and you've passed every test for me. And I'm just really, really excited that you have such a simple, really, truly, this is what I've been looking for. And I was able to just relax on a whole new level when I found you, because it's so simple. It's so comprehensive. You're so intelligent. You're so articulate, and you live the example. So, and I'm going to say it again. I think you have the name of a founding father. And, I think that I'm really excited about where we can go with this. If we can get enough people to realize there is a solution, we can get past this. They're selling you a lie. This is a lie. You're in a narcissist, psychotic narcissistic relationship, and they're gaslighting you into believing that you're free. And if you have a mask on your face, or if you got a vax because you're worried about losing your job, you're not free. So, that's just and it's so much more than that. And we're going to talk about
You allow
that.
them to take a quarter of your income before you even see it. You're not free. I mean, the IRS.
Yeah,
I mean,
listen,
every little aspect. Let me go back to something you said there a few minutes ago. Um, I learned when I first woke up. My one of my first goals, like you said, was to wake other people up, because I thought, oh well, if people knew this, we could stop this. And it's just you run into these brick walls over and over and over again. And I did it for 3 years. I mean, I was running. I was doing screenings of documentaries at the library and all kinds of things. And I'm just like, why don't people care? Why don't people care? And what I realized is that people don't want to hear their problems unless you
right.
can offer them a solution to that problem. Because if you don't have a solution to it, they'll just tune it off. No, it's too much for me. I don't want to hear it anymore, because it's added on to all the other problems in my life. So that's when I started writing the book, and I shifted to solutions, and that's when everything changed. And then it was learning critical thinking. It was learning natural law that really solidified, and it was almost like a bright, shining neon light. This is the solution right here.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I mean, the culmination of all my 15 years of work is the Freedom Project 2020. And so now we can go at people with a solutions based perspective of, hey, do you think government's working for you? Do you think, there's a solution now? And if we get enough people, we can fire them all at once. We don't have to wait for the voting booth, which we know is rigged, and we know any election could be stolen now. It's ridiculous. We just unite and say, we're done. Mm-hmm. We're done. We're not going to take this anymore. We're going to go create the world that we were created to be stewards of. It's as simple as that.
I'm down.
And then I just wanted to mention real quick about the critical thinking. Yes, that is such a vital key in part 8 of the Path to Freedom, which is not done yet. But that's going to be my crash course in critical thinking, where you will, within 20 to 30 minutes, be able to acquire that skill that we talked about earlier and truly understand what critical thinking is. It's on my list of videos to do. I don't know when I'll get to it, hopefully within the next month, but that critical thinking really is the key. And again, it's the key. My whole front page of the Freedom Project 2020 is about the power of the mind. Mm-hmm. And you can't reclaim the power of your own mind unless and until you acquire this skill of critical thinking. It's called the trivium. It's based in grammar, logic, and rhetoric. And the essential foundation of this is the trivium means where three roads meet. And where grammar, logic, and rhetoric meet is the truth. It is the objective truth. And that's why critical thinking, and that's why they took it out of our curriculum 150 years ago. They didn't want to teach you how to think. They wanted to teach you what to think.
Yep. And
that's what we have. We have a world of people that
believe. It worked.
Yeah, of course. Worked. We have a world of people who believe what they're told because this is what they told me to think.
Exactly.
They don't know how to think. And that's why we're in this mess. And so, yeah, everything is about natural law, restoring the power to the individual, restoring, most importantly, the power to your mind. Because once we do that, we will be free. And there's nothing that anybody can do to abuse us anymore, because we'll see it instantly as abuse.
Yeah. We got to stop looking to these, politicians, Trump, Bernie, whoever. I mean, I've fallen into that trap myself, but we are our own heroes, and the time is now. It's getting so obvious. And Jake, hopefully I can get a commitment from you that when you do finish that, because I am passionate about this critical thinking. It's definitely something we're going to explore a lot on Keeper of the Flame. And I would love to have you back when you finish that. And I definitely want to have you back sooner than that to talk about other things. But I want to get a commitment from you here today in front of everybody that you'll come back and talk about when you're done with your critical thinking video, and we can dive into that. Will you do that for me?
We can premiere it on the show if you want.
Awesome. Woohoo! Did you hear that, guys? He's coming back for exclusive.
It'll be a PowerGirl exclusive.
Woohoo! Nice. Thanks, Jake.
The crash course in critical thinking that I've been promising. I honestly have been promising this video for 2 years, and I still haven't made it because it has to be perfect. It has to be right. And I didn't know where to fit it in with any of my work. And if I'd have done it a long time ago, it would have gotten lost. But as part 8 of the Path to Freedom, it fits perfectly there. So that's why it's going to be part 8 of the Path to Freedom. I have to do part 7 first. I've only got 6 of the 12 parts of the Path to Freedom done. So as far as the foundation,
they're meaty. What you have there, please take your time. We're going to link in his website. We're going to link in his Rumble channel. Please check it out. It doesn't take long. It's easy to do when you're doing other things. Put on some headphones and, keep your hands free and do whatever you got to do. But listen to these videos, and we're going to have him back, and we're going to work really, really hard to break this down so that it makes sense. And maybe we can build this critical mass, and maybe we can do this event. Who knows? Maybe next year on Independence Day, we'll actually be signing our independence. So we'll see. We'll see what we can do. But I'm going to work really hard towards that end. And I know Jake has been working really hard. And I want to thank you, Jake, for all the work that you've done. You have really given me hope. I've been looking for you for a long time. I've seen a lot of people try to break down natural law, and I think no one is doing it the way you do it. And no one out there is doing it as simply and comprehensively as you are. So I've done those video editing, and I know how long that takes. And I just want to say again, thank you for all the work that you do, because I really, really believe you are absolutely right. This is the only path forward. It's the only thing that's going to work. And all we need to do is just do it, man. We just need to do it and see what happens. Hey, we could fail, but maybe we won't. We can't do any worse than what's going on right now. I mean, look, it's so bad at this point. We really can't do worse than this, so.
I mean, even the critics of my work who haven't bothered to look at it, they're like, well, what I'm proposing is still 1,000 times better than the world we live in now. How about we try and get there first? And then if you want to pick it apart. We'll find out what doesn't really work, but it will free all of humanity. It will make everybody sovereign. What's not to like about it?
They say the journey of 1,000 steps starts with one. Yeah. And you just one step. When I crossed the Lost Coast Trail, which almost killed me, by the way, don't trifle with that one. That one's scary. But when I crossed the Lost Coast Trail, I did it one step at a time. That's all you do. It's simple as that. One bite at a time. And that's what we're going to do. So we're going to have you back, Jake. And I really appreciate it. We got it done in one take. We could do it. So anyway, Great work. And we are going to be back. And happy Independence Day, everybody. We're going to be back with another great podcast right around the corner. So stay tuned. And we do have a live presentation coming up. Fireworks here in McKinleyville. We get a little bit wild. It's a little country up here in the Lost Coast. So come check it out, and we'll see you later. All right. Thanks a lot, Jake. Thanks for coming to the show. And I'm going to grab you real soon to do this again, because I had a blast.
Thank you, Christina, for all you're doing. And
any last words? Any burning desires?
It's Independence Day, and it is time for us to redeclare our independence. As our founding fathers told us, we must. This is it. Government has become destructive of its ends. Period. End. It is time for us to redeclare our independence. Simple as that.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks again for all your help. I really appreciate it. We're going to be talking to you real soon.
Love it. Thanks a lot.
All right,
hey, everyone.
All right.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, guys, what did I tell you? This guy's a powerhouse. He's all over it. I really, really hope that you go in there and you take a look at his stuff on Rumble. I'm going to really encourage him to get on Odyssey because we're going to do some fun stuff together. I'm telling you, you guys got to stay tuned. You have no idea what we have in store for you. We're just trying to show you where we're at. We've been working really, really hard at Rainbow's End here to create not only online presence, but actually local presence here in Humboldt County. So that's one of the reasons why the media has taken a little bit of a hit lately, because we've been focusing on the local environment. But as soon as I met Jake Jackson, I knew I had to get back in front of the camera and help you out by letting you know that there is a solution. Don't lose heart. We're almost there. So just hang in there and we're going to get through this together, and keep tuning in because we got a lot of great things for you. All right, you guys have a great Independence Day. We'll see you really, really soon with some great McKinleyville fireworks. All right, I'll talk to you later, guys. Take care.